Okay, now this is Bob's Essential Guide, and this is a great tip on saving money and saving time, saving money, eating better, eating healthier. Okay, and this is great for apartments, great for busy people, great for single people. This is the soup pot tradition, right? If it's not like 100 some years old, it's going to be a few thousand years old, right? The soup pot kind of idea has been around for a long, long time. And that is that basically you cook whatever you're going to cook in the pot, like beef or chicken, whatever. You're done with that, you eat the meal, or you take the meat out and you put it in a separate container, and you still got a lot of juices left over in the pot, right? So what do? You throw in a lot of cheap produce, right? You could throw in some onions and potatoes and other stuff, but cabbage, okra, what's in this is cabbage, okra, even some apples, some frozen mixed vegetables like peas, carrots, and corn. Sweet potatoes, throw in some sweet potatoes, some squash, right? And you make what is commonly referred to as a harvest soup, basically. You fill that up, and it's a tradition that's used. Like when I was in the Navy, we had a small ship, and on the mess decks they always had the soup pot going. So in between the meals, right, whenever you're like on watch or something like that, rather than get a cup of coffee, something like that, you get a big coffee mug and you fill it with some soup, and then you have it where you are standing watch, or whatever, in between meals and stuff, you eat a bowl of soup, and it's a nice pick-me-up. Some offices, some parts of the country, some offices will have a soup pot. In some parts of the country, gas stations, garages will have a soup pot for the workers and for the customers and stuff. It won't cost you anything. It's just they give you paper cups, and you just, while you're waiting, have a bowl of soup. And this is a tradition that is carried out in different parts of the country, and it can save you a lot of money because you're eating cheap produce. That's all you're doing. You're eating cheap produce. You can throw anything in it. You could throw fruit into it. Typically lots of onions and mushrooms and some potatoes and cabbage and asparagus and all that unusual stuff, like squash, for example, goes in there. So you've got some of the meat juices and the fat that's left over from whatever you're cooking. Now you diluted that fat with a whole lot of other produce and stuff, a whole lot of other healthier foods that you should be eating normally on a regular basis anyway. And then you could throw in a can of tomato paste in there, or a can of soup, like tomato soup or beef barley soup, or I think any kind of soup that you want to, right? Now you might be concerned with the chemicals inside the soup. A lot of soup manufacturers put phosphates, nitrates, sulfates in their soups these days and load them up with fat, way too much. You're diluting in a big, huge crock pot. Now you can add like a cup of rice to it, but if you already have potatoes and sweet potatoes and squash in it, you already have enough carbs in there, enough starches in there. So during the day, you just grab a bowl of soup and you skip the meal, right? You lose weight, a lot of weight that way. So you basically, the way it works for you normally is, this is my slow cooker pot, and I'll cook something, typically a pot roast. And pot roast has a lot of oil, a lot of grease on it, a lot of that fat. The pot roast, well, you let it cool down. You take the meat out, you let it cool down. Maybe you make a gravy out of some of the juices, right? Put that in with the meat in a separate container in the refrigerator. Wait till the crock pot cools down, and then you put it in the refrigerator, and all that fat, all that liquefied, bad kind of fat, will puddle to the surface and freeze and solidify. You just go in there with a spoon, just a big spoon. You just ladle it out and throw it in the garbage. that fat that pulls at the top doesn't have any flavor in it, so you don't have to worry about losing flavor. It's just the bad kind of solidified, saturated kind of fat stuff there. But there's still a lot of fat in there. Anyway, so I went to the produce stand, the farmer's market, where you get cheap produce. It makes sense for the farmers, too, to go to a farmer's market, because if you buy it from the grocery store, you're buying it from a wholesaler that got it off of a truck, that got it off of a ship that was, from another country. Right? Some of these apples come from Brazil and Colombia, and if you think about it, it goes from the farmer in Brazil to the wholesaler that then puts it on board of a ship, goes through the Panama Canal, goes up to New York, right? If it's well, yeah, if it's Brazil or something, it'd be on the East Coast or something. It'd go right up to New York, wholesaler again, the wholesaler that sells it to the grocery chain. Then they put it on a bunch of trucks and they haul it out to different stores, different grocery stores. All those people have to pay taxes. All those people have to be paid. See? So the farmer goes directly to the farmer's market and he's selling his produce directly to the customer. So he keeps all the profit himself, right? That's the best way to do it. And that's where you find the cheap produce and the good, interesting produce is local farmer's market. The produce stand at the side of the road. So you pick up a lot of that cheap stuff and you throw it in the pot, and you're saving a ton of money that way, and you're saving a lot of time and a lot of energy, and it's healthier for you because there's no preservatives, no chemicals, no dyes, nothing, flavor enhancers, no artificial flavors, no artificial colors, right? It's just pure, plain, actual real soup. It's good for any kind of medical condition. It's very high in fiber, very low in fat, very high in nutrients. It will be perfect for maintaining blood sugar. I mean, it's just a perfectly healthy thing to do. And produce is always cheaper than everything else. See, so sometimes you just want to fill up on the produce. So you get done cooking, then you take the juices, you throw a lot of produce in there, and you cook them till they're soft. You don't have to cut them up in small pieces. You cook them till they're soft. Then you take the big butcher cooking knife and you just stick it in there and just cut the stuff up because it's all really soft, right? You could throw it in a blender too and liquefy it if you want to. But you could throw in mushrooms to give it character or make it look nice, right? And then you throw in red wine vinegar, maybe some Worcestershire sauce, and maybe some hot sauce, see? And you throw in spices, oregano, black pepper, onion flakes, garlic, garlic powder or regular garlic in there for basic flavoring, but you don't want to overspice it because then you get tired of that way it was spiced, over time. But every day you will take the crock pot out, take out the spoon, put a couple of scoops in the bowl, pour in regular water or red wine vinegar, or actually red wine, red or white wine in there to loosen it up, to lighten it up, because this usually ends up getting too concentrated. You can even use fruit juice in there too. You can throw fruit juice in there if you want to. See? So some of the things you could put in there is like apples. You put in some apples. Yeah, some people, it's mullica-weenie. There's a type of soup called mullica-weenie, and you'll see corn in there, and that's part of squash. And let's see if I can get, yeah, this is, okra. That little thing in there is okra. Okra is interesting. It's an African plant that very popular in the South. This is some spinach that I threw in there. Then there's kale. I bought a big can of kale and I put the kale in there. And every day, basically, I take a bowl of this, and when I bring it down to halfway, then I throw in more produce. Some cabbage. Basically, one day, what I did was I bought a head of red cabbage, cut it in half, threw it in there, threw in a box of mushrooms, threw in like 2 or 3 chopped onions, then a box of cilantro, some parsley, maybe a quarter of a box of parsley. I'm not big into parsley, but you know, it does add some interesting flavor to it, right? And then poured in like some red wine, a little bit of red wine vinegar, and about 2 glasses of actual Bordeaux red wine that I had left over. I had to finish the bottle sitting on top of the refrigerator. So I dumped in 2 glasses of that in there, cooked it up. It was great, fantastic. I threw in bacon for some meat flavoring, basically. But you can throw in anchovies. Get a can of anchovies and throw it in here. It works good. Cans of tuna fish. Throw cans of tuna fish in there, because sometimes you want some protein. So you could go for higher quality protein, like tuna fish. You can't throw in tofu because tofu would dissolve after a while. See, you can't do a lot of pasta in here because heating it up every day, the pasta eventually dissolves. But you throw some pasta. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta show you this. All right, let me get this out here. No, I don't have it. There it is. You just buy this package from the grocery stores of pasta already pre-made. I had meatloaf or meatballs. I bought a package of that at the grocery store. You buy these this stuff already pre-made, right? Or you throw in a box of this kind of pasta, right? Which you buy that in the store too, and you just throw it in the bowl, and throw it in the bowl. Put a couple of scoops of soup in there. Throw in some water or whatever, another can of soup. Well, not another can of soup. You throw the can of soup in here to make sure that you got it spiced right. See, and you might throw some fruit juice in there, whatever. 4 or 5 minutes in the microwave. Okay, and it's great lunch. And so it's basically, you always have this in the refrigerator, a couple of scoops in there, some pasta in there, a little bit of fruit juice or something, lighten it up, in the microwave 4 minutes, you're done. That's it. And you're only washing like this, and if you eat out of here, you're only washing that, and that's it. See? So there's no dishes to be done. You're not doing any dishes. You're not wasting any time like that. See? You might want to eat a salad or a sandwich with this, possibly. You know, just make a sandwich and eat it with this. But typically, I find the bowl soup is just good enough. Throw in a couple of pieces of bread in there, and I'm fine, right? You can throw in rice too. You could toss in rice, but rice will dissolve over time also, just like the pasta will. So you want to throw the rice into your regular big, you know, casserole dish or your large bowl. Throw a cup of rice in there, 3 cups of water, make that first. Then you put on a couple of scoops of that in there, mix it in, another 1 or 2 minutes microwave, you're done. So mealtime is quick, it's easy, it's foolproof. See? And every day though, you have a basic soup in here. But then, when you're making the soup, you decide to add more garlic, more oregano, right? You add different pasta a different day, pour in a little bit of half and half, and it's a completely different soup. So each day, you're changing something. You throw in more mushrooms, or you throw in more onions, or you throw in more tomato, you throw in tomato soup, possibly. Tomato soup, chicken soup, those are, you should buy them in bulk. Go to your warehouse store and buy a big flat of 36 can of tomato soup, because you can always use that in everything else. You're using it as a general ingredient for cooking. You throw that in with meatloaf. You throw that in where you're cooking a pot roast, right? So tomato soup is always this general overall thing. You buy that in bulk. You buy it in a big flat of 36 cans or something, and take it home. You put it, in a closet somewhere, and you just throw in a can of tomato soup in there once in a while, or a little can of tomato paste. One of these cans of tomato paste for this soup is perfect. A little tiny, 6-ounce can. Those little tiny cans is just perfect for one pot. See, and I have minced garlic, which I put in there too. So you've got a whole lot of possibilities here. So you get a basic stage 1 soup, always sitting there in your refrigerator ready to go. Put a couple of spoons in the bowl, season it in a different way you want to that day, right? Throw in some pasta, microwave, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. That's it. See, you will save a ton of money on this. You will not be wasting a lot of money on buying pre-made food. All those stuff in the freezer aisle, all those pre-made, pre-manufactured foods are always obscenely expensive. See, you are making food from scratch, but you're not wasting a lot of time doing it. You're not chopping everything up nice and fine. You're cutting, like I found, to put a quarter head of cabbage in here at a time, because half a head of cabbage, I didn't like that. It ends up causing too much gas, and then a can of beans in it too on top of it, and I wasn't socially acceptable for a while. But basically, so you learn a few things over time. But this is cheap produce. Produce is around maybe $1 or $2 a pound, compared to beef, like hamburger, which right now is like $4 or $5 a pound now. Good hamburger. Cheap hamburger used to be like $3 a pound, but the price of hamburger is going up now. But cheap hamburger, you could throw some hamburger in here too if you want to, right? But you can get some. The hamburger is, you only need a certain amount of protein in your diet. You only need a certain amount of fat in your diet, right? You don't want to overdo it. So the soup pot, every day a bowl of soup, and you're not going to be hungry for a lot of other stuff, and you're eating safe food calorically, low fat, good for cholesterol, good healthy stuff. Red wine, vinegar, resveratrol for heart conditions, right? So it's healthier for you, and you're saving a ton of money, and you're saving a lot of time. You're saving a lot of time in your life. So this is something definitely you have to do if you're young adults, young married couple trying to save money, single people trying to save money and time, busy family kind of thing. This is what you want to do. You want to do this every day, have a cup of soup every day, a bowl of soup every day, and you won't eat so much of the bad food, and it's going to be $2 a pound for produce compared to $3, $4 or $5 a pound for hamburger, for beef, right? Fish might be $7 a pound, right? So you're filling up on this stuff every day. And if you're hungry for a hamburger, whatever, you can make that separate. See what I mean? So basically, this is a great way of saving money. It's a lifestyle hack kind of thing. You will be so much better off if you just have a big bowl of soup every day. It'll be easier to stay on your diet too. It'll be easier all the way around, basically, right? This is a snack during the day. And for the office, you could do that. You can have a soup pot in the office if you have a nice office manager, right? People can do this, but don't take pressure cookers through security at your building. Don't do that. Don't bring a pressure cooker to any kind of event. It's not very good these days. You don't want to use pressure cookers these days, okay? I've worked as a security guard a lot, so sorry you can't bring your pressure cooker. And it's like, well, it's potluck lunch today. It's like, it's too bad, it's a pressure cooker, right? And they were even banning crock pots. People couldn't even bring in a crock pot either, because they associated that with a pressure cooker. But I do have to be careful with that. But basically, this is the soup pot kind of idea. And it works really good. It saves you a lot of money. Okay, hopefully this helped you. Have a nice day.